I'm typing this out on my phone, so formatting might be a bit messy. So I, male 34, have been married to my wife Sarah, female 32, for 12 years, and I've been raising her son, let's call him Tyler, male 14, since he was 2. His biological father basically disappeared when Tyler was a baby, and I'm honestly the only dad this kid has ever known. When I was younger, my dad died, and I had to help support my family instead of going to college. So I guess I'm really careful about money and planning ahead because I never want my family to go through financial stress. I keep detailed records of everything, have multiple savings accounts, the whole 9 yards. Maybe it's overkill, but it makes me feel secure. Sarah has always been a bit weird about money stuff. Like, she'll hide important papers in random places around the house. I've found bank statements in recipe books, insurance stuff tucked behind picture frames. It's honestly weird. When we first got together, she told me her mom was an alcoholic, and she learned early that sometimes you have to handle things yourself to protect people. I always figured this was just her way of coping, and it wasn't hurting anyone. But lately, things have been off. Tyler's been acting distracted at school, and his grades are slipping. Last week, we had a parent-teacher conference, and his math teacher, really nice lady, been teaching for like 20 years, said he seems like something's on his mind constantly. She suggested maybe some private tutoring to help him catch up and gave us this pamphlet for a tutoring center. That night at dinner, I brought it up. I told Sarah that Mrs. Johnson thinks Tyler might benefit from some extra math help and showed her the pamphlet. She immediately shut it down. Like immediately. She said we can't afford that right now and changed the subject to Tyler's soccer schedule or something. I was confused because we can absolutely afford it. We've been saving money for years. I'm pretty good with budgets, and we have a decent emergency fund, plus college savings for Tyler. The tutoring was like $40 an hour, maybe 2 to 3 sessions a week. Not exactly breaking the bank here. But every time I tried to bring it up over the next few days, Sarah would get all defensive. She'd say money's tight right now, or we need to be more careful, or my personal favorite, that I don't understand how expensive everything is getting. Which is ridiculous because I'm the one who pays most of our bills and tracks our spending down to the penny. Yeah, I know that sounds obsessive, but whatever. It works for us. So yesterday I decided to just check our main savings account balance to prove to her that the tutoring was totally doable. We've had this joint account for like 8 years, and I check it regularly to make sure we're on track with our goals. I go to log in and the password doesn't work. I try it again thinking maybe I typoed. Nope. I try the backup password we sometimes use. Nothing. So I realized Sarah must have changed it without telling me. And guys, I was pretty upset about this. This is our account. I deposit money into it every month. I should have access to my own savings, right? So I waited for Tyler to go to his room to do homework, and I asked Sarah why the password was changed, and she immediately got defensive. Started saying I was being controlling, and didn't I trust her? I said of course I trust her, but I just want to know our financial situation so I can make informed decisions about things like Tyler's tutoring. She started crying, like full-on tears, saying I was attacking her and questioning her judgment. I kept asking for the new password, and she kept avoiding the question. Finally, she just stormed out of the kitchen and went to our bedroom and locked the door. I'm sitting here completely confused. We've never had issues sharing financial information before. I don't understand why a simple request to access our joint savings has turned into this whole thing. The whole situation is just weird. And I keep thinking there's something she's not telling me about our money situation. But maybe I'm overthinking this. I mean, she has always been a bit sensitive about financial discussions. Oh, and Tyler's been getting phone calls lately that make him all nervous and secretive, but that's probably just normal teenage stuff. Honestly, I have no idea what's normal for 14-year-olds since I never had a dad to guide me through any of this. I feel like I'm going crazy here. All I wanted was to help my son with math tutoring, and now my wife won't even let me see our own bank account. Am I the idiot for demanding access to our joint banking account after my wife changed the password without telling me? Now for the first update. Sorry for the delay. Things have been absolutely chaotic since my last post. I confronted Sarah about the bank password thing, and honestly, I wish I hadn't. This whole situation is way worse than I thought, and I don't even know where to start. So after reading some of your comments, thank you by the way, even the harsh ones made me realize I was being way too passive about this. I decided I needed to actually push for answers instead of just accepting her tears like usual. God, I hate confrontation. But you're right that I've been enabling this crap for years. Tuesday night after Tyler went to bed, I sat Sarah down and basically said I wasn't dropping this. I told her I needed the new password, and I needed to understand why she changed it without telling me. She got that look she always gets when she's about to make some excuse. She starts with this whole thing about how she's been helping someone in need and didn't want to worry me. I'm like, okay, who exactly are we helping, and why does that require hiding our savings account from me? And she gets all fidgety and finally admits she's been sending money to Tyler's bio dad. I swear my head was about to explode. Like, what? This is the same guy who disappeared when Tyler was barely walking and hasn't paid a dime of child support in over a decade. I asked her how much and for how long, and she's being all vague, like just a few hundred here and there, and only for a couple months. But then I'm doing the math in my head because, yeah, I'm obsessive about money, whatever. And I realized if she changed the password 4 months ago, guys, she's been lying about the timeline. When I called her out, she finally admitted it's been going on since around Tyler's birthday in March. So like 7 months, not a couple. And it hasn't been a few hundred here and there. We're talking like $800, $900 a month. That's almost $6,000 so far. I mean, that's literally more than Tyler's tutoring would cost for the entire school year. I asked her why the hell she would do this, and she starts crying, of course, and saying he threatened to assert his parental rights if she didn't help him with his debts. She said he told her he's been clean for 2 years now and wants to be part of Tyler's life again, but he needed help getting back on his feet first. Which, look, I know this sounds terrible, but my first thought was good, let him try. Like this guy abandoned his kid, never paid support, and now he thinks he can just show up demanding money. I told Sarah that, and she got even more upset, saying I don't understand how custody works, and he could really take Tyler away. But here's the thing that's been bothering me. Tyler's been getting these phone calls lately that make him all nervous and secretive. And watching him this week, I noticed he always gets weird and ends the calls quickly when I walk into the room. So last night at dinner, I asked him about it. Just casual, like, hey buddy, you've been getting a lot of calls lately. Everything okay? And he immediately looks at Sarah with this panicked expression, like they've been caught doing something. Tyler mumbles something about friends from school, but he won't look at me. And Sarah jumps in way too fast with, oh, you know how teenagers are with their phones, and tries to change the subject to his soccer practice or whatever. After Tyler went upstairs, I asked Sarah directly if she knew who was calling him. And guys, she got so defensive. Started saying I was being paranoid and questioning everything, and why can't I just trust that she knows what's best for Tyler? That's when it clicked. I asked her if she's been setting up calls between Tyler and his bio dad, and the look on her face, she didn't even try to deny it. She just started crying again and saying she had to let them talk because it's his father, and she couldn't keep them apart forever. I'm like, what do you mean forever? This guy chose to leave. We didn't keep him away. He just stopped showing up. And that's when Sarah completely breaks down. She's sobbing and saying there's more I don't know, and she's been trying to protect our family. I asked her what she meant by more, and she just keeps saying, he has proof of something that could destroy us. I literally had no idea what she was talking about. Proof of what? What could this deadbeat possibly have on us? Finally, after like an hour of crying and going in circles, she tells me the truth. Guys, our marriage isn't legal. I know how that sounds, but please bear with me because this gets so much worse. Apparently, Sarah never actually divorced her first husband, like legally divorced. She said they both filed papers and thought that was it, but something went wrong with the process and it was never finalized. She said she'd suspected something might have gone wrong with the divorce paperwork years ago, but she never looked into it. When BioDad's investigator brought her actual court documents and explained she could face criminal charges, she panicked. But Tyler's BioDad hired a private investigator a few months ago, and they found the court records showing the divorce was never completed. So technically, Sarah was still married to her ex when we got married, which makes our marriage invalid. And now BioDad is threatening to report us for marriage fraud or bigamy or whatever, unless she keeps paying him monthly. Plus, he's been using this to justify setting up regular phone calls with Tyler, telling him that I'm basically a fraud who stole his family, and that he's Tyler's real father who deserves a relationship with him. I don't even know how to process this, like, my entire marriage is fake. The past 12 years of my life are built on something that doesn't legally exist, and Tyler has no idea about any of this. He just thinks his bio dad suddenly wants to be in his life again after all these years. Sarah's been telling him to keep the calls secret because stepdad might get jealous, which is just, God, that makes me sound like the bad guy. I've been sitting here trying to figure out what to do, and I honestly have no clue. Do I contact a lawyer? Do I talk to Tyler? Do I try to get our marriage legally fixed somehow? Sarah keeps saying we need to just keep paying him to keep quiet until Tyler turns 18, and then this will all go away. But that's 4 more years of being blackmailed by this piece of shit. And who's to say he won't just keep demanding more money? The worst part is Tyler's been getting closer to his bio dad during these calls. Sarah mentioned he's been asking questions about why his real dad wasn't around when he was little. And apparently bio dad has been feeding him some story about how I manipulated Sarah into keeping them apart or something. I feel like my whole life is falling apart, and I don't know what's real anymore. The kid I've been raising for 12 years might start to see me as the villain in his own story. The woman I thought was my wife has been lying to me about basically everything, and some scumbag who abandoned his family is now calling the shots in my house. I've barely slept the past few days, and I have no idea what to do next. Every time I think about Tyler finding out the truth, I feel sick. He's already been struggling in school, and now I know it's probably because he's dealing with all this emotional confusion about his bio dad suddenly being back in the picture. Sorry this is such a mess, I'm just trying to get everything out while it's still fresh in my mind. Edit. 1. To answer everyone asking if I've contacted a lawyer, not yet, but I'm looking into it. This whole situation is so complicated legally. 2. For those asking about Tyler, no, he doesn't know about the marriage thing. Sarah made me promise not to tell him until we figure out how to handle this. 3. Before anyone suggests it, I can't just stop the payments because Biodad has already established a relationship with Tyler, and threatening to disrupt that would hurt the kid more than anyone. Now for the second update. You were all right about not trusting the Biodad situation. I should have listened, but honestly I was just trying to keep the peace and protect Tyler from more problems. God, where do I even start? It's been like 7 years since my last post, and everything you guys predicted basically came true, except somehow worse than I imagined. So we kept paying the monthly blackmail money. Biodad kept up his weekly phone calls with Tyler throughout high school, and honestly, Tyler started looking forward to them, which, I guess I'm glad he was getting some kind of father figure contact, but it was hard watching him get excited to talk to this guy who abandoned him while I'm like, right here. You know, the calls were always on Sunday evenings, and Tyler would go up to his room and talk for like an hour. Sometimes I'd hear him laughing or whatever, and part of me was happy he was happy, but another part was like, where was this guy for the first 12 years? But I never said anything, because Tyler seemed to be doing better in school, and Sarah kept reminding me that disrupting the calls would just hurt Tyler more. Anyway, fast forward to Tyler's 18th birthday last year. We had this nice family dinner. Sarah made his favorite lasagna, got him a cake, the whole thing, and we're talking about college plans. Tyler got into this decent state school for engineering, which I was so proud of, and that's when I told him about the college fund. I'd been saving for his college since he was like 8 years old. Obsessively saving. Like I would pack lunches for work instead of buying food, drive my car until it literally couldn't pass inspection anymore, buy generic everything. Because after my dad died when I was younger, I had to help support my mom instead of going to college myself. I promised myself that Tyler would never have to choose between his education and taking care of family, you know? So I tell him there's about $47,000 in the college fund, which isn't enough to cover everything, obviously, but it's a solid start, and with some student loans, he should be fine. Tyler's eyes got huge, and he's like, holy shit, really? He thanks me and everything, but he seemed, surprised by the amount, like he'd never really thought about where college money would come from. That night, during his regular Sunday call with Biodad, Tyler mentions the college fund. And apparently, Biodad immediately starts asking all these questions about how the money's invested and managed, and basically positioning himself as this financial expert who could help Tyler make better decisions. Over the next few weeks, Tyler starts asking me weird questions about the college fund. Like, why don't I invest it more aggressively? Why is it in a regular savings account instead of stocks? Shouldn't he have more control over it now that he's 18? And I'm trying to explain that we kept it safe because college was coming up soon, and you don't want to risk losing tuition money in the stock market. But Tyler keeps pushing. And I realize BioDad is in his ear telling him that I'm being controlling and that as a legal adult, Tyler should have direct access to his own money. Everything blew up like 2 months after his birthday. Tyler comes down to breakfast one morning and just demands that I transfer the entire college fund to his own account immediately. Not asks, demands. He starts going on about how he's an adult now and shouldn't need permission to access his own education money. I tried to explain gently that BioDad might not have his best interests at heart, given the guy's history of, well, abandoning him and then blackmailing us for years. But Tyler just got angry and accused me of being jealous that his real dad was back in his life. And then he said it. The thing that still keeps me up at night sometimes. Tyler told me I wasn't his real father anyway, so I didn't get to control his money. Guys, I just felt completely destroyed. 12 years of raising this kid, of helping with homework and driving to soccer practice and staying up all night when he had the flu. And that's what I get. I think I just stood there for like a full minute not saying anything, because what do you even say to that? Tyler's standing there looking all defiant and righteous, and I'm just broken, honestly. I asked him if that's really how he felt, and he doubled down. Said BioDad explained how I'd been controlling the situation for years and keeping them apart. And now that Tyler was old enough to understand the truth, he could see what was really happening. Which is just, God. This guy managed to completely mess with Tyler's head through weekly phone calls. Like he rewrote 12 years of history where he was the victim and I was somehow the bad guy for stepping up when he disappeared. Tyler packed a bag that afternoon and went to stay with BioDad, temporarily, while he figured out his living situation for college. Sarah was crying and begging him not to go, but Tyler was convinced that BioDad had this great apartment and could teach him about investing and money management. I probably should have put my foot down, but honestly, after the "not my real father" comment, I was just done fighting. If Tyler wanted to learn about his BioDad's character the hard way, maybe that's what needed to happen. So yeah, I transferred the money. Tyler opened his own account and added BioDad as a joint account holder so they could work together on investment strategies. I knew it was a mistake, but Tyler was 18 and threatening to just cut contact entirely if I didn't cooperate. The money was gone in 3 weeks. BioDad had been making maximum daily withdrawals and apparently telling Tyler it was for some time-sensitive investment opportunity. When Tyler tried to check on how the investments were going after about a week, BioDad stopped answering his calls. Tyler finally went to the bank and got account statements showing where the money actually went. Debt payments, casino withdrawals, some business loan that had defaulted. Basically, BioDad used Tyler's college fund to clean up his own financial mess and then disappeared again the second the money ran out. Tyler came home about a month later completely embarrassed. He couldn't even look at me when he apologized. Just kept saying how stupid he'd been and how he should have listened to me about BioDad's character. And here's the thing that probably makes me a pushover. I didn't say "I told you so." I didn't lecture him or make him grovel or any of that. I just helped him fill out financial aid applications and look into scholarships and payment plans, because what was the point of making him feel worse when he was already beating himself up? Sarah was furious at me for not being angrier, but honestly, Tyler had learned more about BioDad's true nature in 3 weeks than 12 years of me explaining it could have taught him. College has been a struggle financially, but Tyler's doing okay. He works part-time and has some student loans, and we help when we can. He's actually grown up a lot through having to figure out the money stuff himself, which brings me to why I'm posting now. Tyler called me last week completely out of the blue. He's graduating this spring and apparently got engaged to his girlfriend Emma over the holidays. They're planning a small wedding for this summer. He asked if I would walk with him to the altar. I literally started crying right there on the phone, which probably embarrassed the hell out of him. But he said he'd been thinking a lot about who had actually been there for him growing up. And even though he'd been a complete idiot about the college money situation, he realized I was the one who actually raised him. He said Emma was the one who pointed out that I'd sacrificed for years to save that money in the first place. And instead of holding the whole mess against him, I just quietly helped him figure out Plan B for college. She told him that's what real fathers do. So now I'm trying not to cry again while typing this, because apparently I'm going to walk my son down the aisle next summer, and I never thought I'd get to do that after everything that happened. Oh, and BioDad is apparently in some kind of legal trouble now. Tyler heard from someone that he's facing charges for scamming other people the same way he scammed us. Turns out we weren't his only victims over the years. I still don't totally understand Tyler's motivations for the wedding invitation. Part of me wonders if Emma pushed him to include me, or if he feels guilty about the money thing, or if he genuinely sees me as his dad now. Sarah keeps saying she told me Tyler would come around eventually, but I don't think she really believed it either. We both thought we'd lost him for good when he chose Biodad over us. Anyway, sorry for the novel. I know a lot of you predicted this would end badly with Biodad, and you were absolutely right. I just wanted to update everyone who'd given advice over the years and let you know that sometimes things do work out eventually, even when it feels hopeless. Tyler's still not great at expressing emotions. Honestly, neither am I. But asking me to walk him down the aisle feels like his way of saying he knows who his real dad is. And honestly, that's enough for me. Edit 1. Since so many people are asking, no, I never pursued legal action against Biodad for the theft. Tyler was a legal adult and willingly gave him access to the account, so there probably wasn't much we could do legally anyway. Edit 2. To those asking about the original marriage-divorce situation, Sarah and I did eventually get our marriage legally sorted out through a lawyer, though it was expensive and complicated. Biodad never actually reported us because he would have lost his blackmail leverage. Edit 3. For everyone asking about Tyler's relationship with Sarah through all this, it's been complicated. He definitely blamed her initially for not telling him about Biodad earlier, but they've worked through most of it. She still feels guilty about the whole mess. Edit 4. Yes, Tyler knows about the years of blackmail payments now. I told him everything when he came back home broke, because I figured he deserved to understand the full scope of what Biodad had been doing to our family. He was pretty shocked about how long it had been going on.